So I just got back from an amazing vacation in Maui. It was absolutely incredible. Weather was great and just had a great time. Before I left, I knew I was going to be doing a bunch of snorkeling. I stayed in Kaanapali Beach, and there's amazing snorkeling right off the beach in Kaanapali. So I wanted to get an underwater camera. I didn't want to spend the money on a GoPro though. I know GoPros are the best. I know they're amazing cameras, but I don't really use action cameras for anything else. So I wanted to get something that was inexpensive that I could use for my trip and, not break the bank. So based on my research, it led me to buy this Akaso V50x action camera. So I want to preface this review by saying this isn't going to be a comparison test or super in-depth analysis. This is just my experience using the camera for a week on vacation and only using it for underwater snorkeling. I don't own another action camera like a GoPro to compare it with. So I think I probably started by looking on Reddit for cheap action camera recommendations. I didn't see too much there, but I saw a few mentions of Akaso. Then I went to Amazon and started browsing there. I saw this Ice camera that looked pretty great for $50, but then I went to YouTube and saw this excellent review of that camera from the channel Worth It or Not that showed a comparison with the Akaso V50 Pro and the Ice. And the Ice image quality looked pretty lousy. So I took a look at the Akaso on Amazon and saw that the V50X had a $22 discount from the $99 original price, read some reviews, and I pulled the trigger. So this is the camera. I think it has pretty nice build quality. I really like the fact that it has the curved corners on it. It seems solidly well made, and it does have that rubberized texture stuff, and you know how that stuff always degrades over time and gets sticky. Well, I'm sure that's going to happen here, but it generally feels nice, and I think it has pretty decent build quality, better than some of the other like super cheapo GoPro clones that I've seen previously. There's the battery door. I think these are like standard GoPro size batteries. It does come with 2 batteries, which is nice. Battery door seems decently solid. Again, better than some of the other super cheapo clones. So I'm going to go ahead and power it on. The boot up time is decently quick. There's the screen, pretty bright, and I'm going to go through some of the settings. One thing I did notice is that the touch screen is it's a little weird. It's not like a phone. Sometimes it just doesn't want to acknowledge your touch. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe I was touching in the wrong spot. I don't know. But here you can see some of the different modes. So 4K 30 is what I used when I was snorkeling, but also has 2.7K at 60 frames. There's image stabilization. So with image stabilization turned off, then you can access the 720p 120 frames per second mode. So that's pretty cool if you're doing slow-mo. Obviously 720p is not the best, but still you could get some cool slow-mo with that. So here are settings for exposure and meter. And audio, you can turn it on or off. It does have an option for an external microphone. Not exactly sure how well that works, but it does have that option. So for still frames, here's where you can set the size. So it'll go up to 20 megapixels on still frames. And you can choose whether you want JPEG or JPEG plus DNG. I don't even know what that is. can adjust the photo quality. Apparently, if you really want economy photos, that's an option. So this is kind of interesting. You can actually adjust the angle. I'm assuming that that's just cropping the image somehow. I'm not sure. I chose wide rather than super wide for snorkeling, so that's what I went with. So this camera does have dive mode, and the manual says that it compensates for the light to try and make it better for underwater. The first day I did not enable that, so I'll show you the difference. The camera also includes driving mode, which will let you use it like a dash cam, so I guess it'll automatically power on if you have it connected to your car's power source, and then it'll power off again once you turn off your car. The camera does include the ability to play back video that you've recorded on the screen. There's also an app that you can install on your phone, and you can access the files and play back through your phone as well. So the camera did come with a boatload of accessories in the box. It did not come with the underwater yellow handle that you can see there. I already had that from an old action camera. But here's the battery charger. It can actually charge 2 batteries simultaneously, which is cool. That's the secondary battery. And it seemed like pretty decent quality on this little charger. It does use micro USB instead of USB-C for the charging cable, which is a little annoying. I wish it were USB-C, but hey, can't have everything. So here's the myriad of little accessories. It does come with a remote control that is splash proof, not waterproof, so obviously I didn't use that. And the typical myriad of little GoPro attachments, lots of useful stuff, right angle, handlebar, clamp, lots of little goodies, lots of straps, adhesive mounts. It comes with all the little stuff that you'll ever need, including the waterproof housing shown, which worked well. It kept it nice and dry, thankfully. And it comes with an extra back plate, I guess. Not really sure what that's for, but anyway. Comes with all the goodies, so pretty cool. I opted to buy the version that didn't come bundled with a memory card. Instead, I bought a memory card separately just to make sure that it had fast enough speed to be able to deal with the 4K. So this is what I bought. It was like $10, I think, on Amazon. And it seemed to not have any issues. It didn't drop any frames doing 4K 30. So happy with this little card. So here is the waterproof housing. I think it's typical to all these little GoPro clones, but again, seemed to work well. No leaks, and did the trick. But your typical underwater housing case, nothing special about it particularly. So here's the floating handle for it that I used while snorkeling. So you've seen the camera. Let's get into what I shot with it. All right, so this is the first day I went out with the camera, and stupidly I left the date and time imprint turned on. Rookie mistake, I know, stupid. The other thing is I did not have dive mode turned on for this footage. So this is no dive mode. I believe I did have stabilization on. I'm not 100% sure about that, but anyway. So also I haven't done any color correction to the video. This is just straight out of the camera at the moment. All this is right off the beach from Kaanapali, right in front of where I was staying at the Marriott Ocean Club. So And there was my first encounter with a sea turtle. I think these are pretty amazing creatures. This guy was just super chill. He could care less that I was there. In fact, he actually started swimming towards me, not in a threatening way. I was actually having trouble getting away from him, trying to stay further back, not to bother him and be in his space. But anyway, this is why I bought the camera, and I think this is pretty cool for my first day using it. So I was really excited. And even though the camera isn't in dive mode, I still think it looks pretty darn good. The detail seems nice. In 4K, you can see actually the sun reflecting off the little sand particles in the water. But all in all, I think this image looks pretty darn good. I have no real complaints. I think it looks great. All right, so now we'll move on to my second day. I walked down to the end of the beach to a spot called Black Rock. And there I came upon this little juvenile turtle. He was much smaller than the other ones. And this day I managed to remember to turn the date and time in print off, and this is in dive mode. Also, if you listen to the audio this day, you could hear something that I don't know if it's whales. I mean, it literally could be whales. I'm not sure. But it's a very interesting sound that the microphone and the camera happened to pick up underwater. Okay, moving on to the next day. This was just right out in front of the resort, and I came across this big guy. And here I'm going to show you how the footage holds up to some color correction. The image was looking a little washed out this day for some reason. I think it just might have been because of some pretty decent surf that was kicking up particles in the water. But as you can see, if I wipe from color corrected to uncolor corrected, I think this footage does give you some good latitude to push it a bit with contrast and some color tweaking. So yeah, I think that improves the look quite a bit, as you can see. So again, I think this camera does a pretty great job for the around $80 that I paid for it. I'm really glad I was able to capture these turtles in their element, but definitely looks a little better after applying some color correction and editing. Trying a little different color correction on this shot. I thought it was cool that I was able to get the turtle poking its head up, taking a breath, and then little pan back to the resort there. Just thought I'd try something a little different with the color, and I think this looks kind of cool. Just adding in that additional contrast, I think, really helps the image look better. This particular turtle I nicknamed Stumpy Joe because if you look at his back right flipper, he had some sort of injury and he lost, seems like about half of his rear flipper there. So I saw him out on the reef in front of the resort pretty much every day. He was a big guy. He was at least maybe, his shell was probably five feet long. He was a big guy. So that's my review of the little Akaso V50x. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Is there a better option? Let me know. And as always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of nerdy content, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to have lots of other interesting content coming soon.